Good morning, everyone. What was placed on the casket was holy earth and Sure.
You won't get it in the garden center at Lowe's.
No? You won't find that in the garden center at Lowe's, no.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Never mind. It's on. Good morning. As you know, we are here today to celebrate Anita's life and, of course, to say goodbye. In Hebrew, the word for funeral, levaya, comes from the Hebrew root that means to accompany or to escort. And in a very real sense, it is both our honor and our obligation to be here this morning to accompany and to escort her to her final resting place here among these beautiful mountains, and we'll accomplish that with the recitation of psalm and tribute and prayer. I'd like to ask before we start that those of you with a cell phone, please place the phone on silent mode. I'd like to begin with Psalm 121. Please join me if you like. I will lift up mine eyes unto the mountains. From whence shall my help come? My help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel doth neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall keep thee from all evil. He shall keep thy soul. The Lord shall guard thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and forever. Esena el heharim me'ayin, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, ose shamayim, shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha, hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha yad yiminecha, yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, ve'areach balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikorra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzedka uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam. I'd like to find out, Elliot and Eden, do you have the Kriya ribbons? Okay. Do we have extra Korea ribbons, Lou? May I have 2, please? It's okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so these you will pin on the left side. The first obligation here at the graveside is for Eden and Elliot to perform the ancient ritual of Kriya, the tearing of the garment or the tearing of the ribbon. In our Bible, we have several figures who, upon learning of the death of a loved one, tear or rend their garments as a sign of grief and despair. In our more modern movements, we've replaced the clothing with a black ribbon. And when we tear the black ribbon, it signifies for us there is a tear in our hearts because someone precious has been torn from our lives. So I'll ask you two to please rise if you're able and repeat after me. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam Dayan Ha'emet. This means, blessed are you, God, who is the true judge. And once again, Adonai, Natan, Va'adonai, Lakach, Yehi, Shem, Adonai, Mivarach. And this means the Lord has given and the Lord has taken. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And at this time, you'll take 2 fingers from the bottom and pull up to tear the ribbon about halfway. Perfect. Very good. You may be seated. Who would like to speak first this morning? Okay.
Hi, everybody. Cell phones have replaced index cards, so give me a second to call up the speech. Okay, so. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm Anita's son-in-law. I met her, I think it was the day after Thanksgiving, 1993. I'd met Eden, just 3 weeks prior to that. We hit it off so quickly that it just seemed time to, meet the parents, right off the bat. In these speeches, you'll hear a lot about what Anita did, when she did it, things like that. I can only talk about what she meant to me. But first, I have to get something out of the way. Sorry, especially for you, Irv, Mickey, I know you can hear me. I did not like Anita's cooking. I was listening to the rest of the family describe Anita to the rabbi in preparation for today's services, and one of the things Irv said was that she was a fine Jewish mother and a fine Jewish wife. That may be, but I'm sorry to have to say this, she did not use enough salt. I'm a guy who rarely adds salt to anything, and not that I'm an authority on the subject, but that is not what I know, as far as being a fine Jewish mother. I will not waver on this point. But when I met Eden and started learning about her family, she told me her parents were observant Jews who kept kosher. So, of course, I was a little worried. Anybody who knows me knows that was a huge red flag for me. I figured I'd better find out just how religious they were up front so I'd know what I was in for, considering I had fallen in love with their daughter in a matter of days. So the first time I met Anita and Irv that day after Thanksgiving was at a Chinese restaurant. So I ordered sweet and sour pork just to see what their reaction would be. I was relieved when it was their turn and they ordered firecracker shrimp. I truly did not know that people could keep kosher at home but not outside the home. That was news to me. But if Anita was ever disappointed that I didn't practice or believe and sometimes didn't even like being called Jewish, she never showed it. She and Irv were both so unfailingly nice, and Anita was so welcoming to me that I felt like I always wanted to be my best for her. And I get the feeling she made a lot of other people feel the same way. Now, I'd been married once before, and I refer to it now as my practice marriage, and I think everybody who knows me has heard me say this. One reason I say my marriage to Eden works so well is because I learned a lot of my lessons from the first marriage. One of the things that didn't work in that first marriage was that I didn't get along with my mother-in-law. We just clashed on everything. Probably was not the kind of man she had envisioned for her daughter. Those things happen. Not everybody gets along. But when I saw signs that my ex was starting to turn into her mother, I panicked. There were many signs like that. She was, it happens. Some people grow up to become their parents, and she was growing up to become her mother. That was one of the things that led to the end of that. So then I met Eden and started contemplating a future together. Eden will confirm that that contemplation actually started at the end of our first date. But I kept in mind to think about what things would be like, if Eden started turning into her mother. And, then I met Anita, and, you can see where this is headed. There was never any hesitation on my part, nothing like that. Once I met Anita and, got to know her, I knew that, if Eden grew up to become her mother, then I'd be one really lucky man. So, thank you, Irv, Mickey, everybody back east. Well, thanks for raising a good mother-in-law for me. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Eden? Okay. Mickey, I'm going to see. This is something that did not happen back in, let's say 2019. But I'm going to attempt right now to connect to the folks in Georgia. I'm calling Anita's daughter, Michelle.
The problem is we don't hear that.
Right.
The microphone only goes...
Exactly, right. There is no speaker here.
Go to a speaker.
Right, so I'm going to try to turn the volume up on this as loud as possible. On the bright side, this is being recorded, and if you have the link to the funeral, you can actually watch it later and hear what Mickey's saying if you can't hear it here. Okay, Mickey, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, Mickey, I can't hear you. Speak up, Mickey. Hello? Hello? Oh, okay, hang on. And we lost it. Okay, Mick, I'm going to call you on the regular phone instead. Sorry for all this people. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. Now it's on speaker. Okay, all right. So.
Okay, let me get to my page here.
Are you picking up the sound? Okay. There we
Okay,
go.
can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know how many people can, but there's slight nodding. So
Okay.
everybody remember this for the next time you have to do something like this. Bring an external speaker.
Yep.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I got it. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and start.
Go right ahead.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Sweet, understanding, compassionate, smart, loving, champion, warrior, tough. These are all words that can do. These are all the words. Sorry. These are all words that can and do explain our mom Anita. However, they don't seem sufficient. There are not words enough in the English language that can explain who she was. Mom and Dad raised us to be good Jews, good people, and to respect our elders, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. Mom and Dad's love story was one for the ages. They met at Roosevelt University. Mom was 2 years ahead in college at the time. She was 16. She would have been 14, but Bubby told them 14 was too young for her to be in college. They were going to skip her 3 years. Dad carried Mommy's books home for 2 months before asking her out. They got engaged and planned a wedding. They had to move it up because Daddy was drafted into the Army. They got married April 30th, 1957. Mom flew back from Germany 3 weeks or so before she had me. I was born on March 26, 1959. I was 3 months old when my daddy finally saw me. I am the oldest, the trier and error child. I was actually a pretty good kid till prior to turning 18. I stayed out too late, didn't call, flooded our 1-week-old carpet. You heard right. I was in beauty school and came home very late. I got up the next morning and decided I'm going to take a bath. Turned on the tub and fell back asleep and awoke to screaming. I had flooded the whole house of 1-week-old brown high-low carpet. It wasn't 7 weeks after all. I thought for sure I was doomed. The life lesson showed me what incredible people my parents were. They didn't kill me. Lord knows they could have. I was grounded for a very, very long time. There was also the time my mom deserved a medal for standing outside Madame Tussauds wax museum in Old Town Chicago with me. I was about 12 and I had a tremendous fear of wax museums. The Edelmans and Walshes and my family went down Old Town Chicago to see it. Mom never made it in. Instead, she didn't get me to budge and really had awful moments that I put her through. Lastly, I got the chicken pox when Michael and Mia got them. I was 34. I had pox where I didn't know I had places. Mom and Eden got up to my house in 40 to 50 minutes. I lived over an hour away. Mom and Eden watched the kids, and I went to sleep. I awoke and went to the kitchen and proceeded to faint hard on the floor. Mommy and little sister took such good care of us. We were truly blessed with 2 amazing parents. Grandparents to Michael, Mia, Jeff, Sydney, Edison, Evan, and Luke. Great-grandparents to Gage and Marley, Michael and Samantha's kids. They love Nana Papa. Mom, I want you to know that we will try to make sure that we honor yours and Daddy's morals, love, courage, pass them down to our future generations. We love you, Mommy. You're Mickey Bird.
Was anybody else there going to talk? Vicky, is anybody, are you still there? Hey, is any, thank you. Anybody else there going to talk? Vicky, is anybody else there going to talk? Okay, here's Irv, Anita's husband.
I'd like to thank everyone that's there. I feel terrible not being there. Most of the people here feel the same way. I take all my daughters' Mayday wife's choice. And I believe my daughter-in-law also made a wife's choice. Because I told her we don't want them back. But if you got yours, I have no complaint about my my children, children-in-laws, who I still consider my children, my grandchildren, everybody. I love everyone, and the reason why I love everyone is the woman there taught me to love.
Is that it out there? Thank you. Okay. Did Jordan want to say something? Anybody else there? No? Okay. Signing off then. Thank you. Bye. Okay.
There are all sorts of facts and dates about my mom that are very impressive and inspiring, but I can tell you best about my being her daughter. My mom never was one to tell you I told you so. She was always supportive and was around to help me get back on my feet when I was at my lowest. She was a wonderful mother who would do anything for her family, was there to support her children, and teach us how to be self-sufficient. She loved to spend time with her kids, especially going shopping. She never found a store she didn't like, something all her children also loved to do. My brother, of course, putting all us girls to shame. She was there for the birth of her first 4 grandchildren and went out to Atlanta to help out for the last 2 as soon as they were born. If she had known that Jeff had become her grandson, she probably would have gone back in time to be there too. The perfect doting Nana. After Sydney was born and we came home from the hospital, she wouldn't stop crying. Eric would not wake up, and after a C-section, I was in agony for hours, pacing back and forth with a screaming newborn. After several hours, I called my mom hysterical, and she came over at 4:30 in the morning to take care of Sydney so I could get some rest before having to feed her again. That is an example of a wonderful grandmother. Late in life, my parents decided to move to Georgia for more family support and the allegedly better weather. Not a day went by that she didn't complain about that weather. The one thing that I think she would be most proud of was the fact that both of her granddaughters followed in her footsteps in helping others. I know this is kind of rambling, but I really miss the long phone conversations we had almost every day, even the ones that basically were the same conversation over and over when her memory wasn't what it was. What I would give to have one more of those conversations. Goodbye, Mom. Get some rest. I love you and miss you very much.
My mother meant a lot of things to a lot of people. To my dad, she was his great love story. They've known each other for 65 years. She was his best friend, travel companion, and the audience for his daily comedic musings. And there were a lot of them. Same show over and over again, but we all liked it. And she was also the mother of his children. Since she's passed, he's had a daily ritual of kissing the picture of their wedding. It's something that whenever I see them do it, I feel like I'm honored to see that. Just their love affair was just something that you don't see these days. So to see that for the last 3 years since they moved to Georgia has been a real gift for me. A few days ago, we had a call with the rabbi. He was asking us to name one word that would describe our mother. And after several words were thrown out, reliable was one that came out of my mouth. After I said reliable, I thought to myself, did I just compare my mom to a Honda Accord or a Toyota Camry? Then I thought about it deeper. And as a child, all you could ask for was for your parent to always be there when you needed them. Mom was certainly always there for me. No matter what time of the day or night or wherever on the planet I was, she would drop everything to make sure that her baby boy was okay. A story about my mom, she always had this way of making you feel better, no matter how bad things were. When my oldest son, Evan, had one of the prenatal tests, my wife, Susan, and I were really scared that there was something wrong. And I kept telling her, I'm like, Mom, promise me that he's going to be okay. She said, I can't promise you, but I feel in my heart that he's going to be a great child. And Mom was right. One of the last conversations I had with her was right before Evan went back to college in Iowa. I brought him up to see my parents. It wasn't easy to see them with the COVID restrictions. But she pulled me aside and she said to me, that boy of yours has sure come a long way. You're doing a great job. She said, you've turned into a really good father. And anybody who knows my mother, that was pretty high praise coming from her. It didn't get any better than my mom. The worst thing that you could do as a child of Anita Miller was to disappoint her. I feared nothing more in the world than that. Most kids really fear their middle name being added to Elliot, David, Miller, get in here. You knew you were in trouble. But I prayed, as soon as I got to her, I'm hoping that I didn't see her lips pursed like this. So this was known as the Regensburg lip purse. My grandmother, Leah, and my mom both had it, and you knew you were in big trouble. As soon as you turned the corner, they'd both be sitting there, and they'd be like... So that was something I tried to avoid at all costs. 2 or 3 times throughout the course of your lifetime was enough for me. So disappointing my mom was literally the last thing I ever wanted to do. The thing that I'm comforted about is out of all the grandchildren, everything I look between my 2 sisters, myself, and all the grandchildren, there's a little part of us that's my mom is with us. I'm sorry, I'm rambling all over the place. Michael has my mom's resilience. No matter what life throws at him, he keeps getting up and fighting forward. Me and Sydney, as Eden said, they're following my mom's footsteps professionally and helping people. And that's something that I'm sure she's smiling down upon them with. Edison has that same quest for knowledge that my mom had, always wanting to learn new things and being excited about what the world had out there. Evan has a heart as big as the state of Iowa, just like my mom had. And Luke is relentless to desire and to succeed in his life. So whenever I look at the grandkids, and then Jeff is somebody, Jordan's son Jeff is somebody that my mom just adored. Just talking with Jeff just really brightened her day. So, and then there's the 2 great-grandchildren, Gage and Marley, that, her eyes always lit up when she saw them. So, Mom, we're all going to miss you terribly. She's just somebody that everybody who's sitting here and everybody who's out there knows. My mom was one of a kind. There's just really nobody else like her. That's all I have to say. Thank you, everybody, for coming and for tuning in out there.
Do you want to take this back with you? Oh, good. No problem. How do we come together today and do justice to 82 years of life on this planet? All of the good decisions, all of the bad decisions, all of the successes and all of the regrets. Certainly in the short time that we have together to say goodbye, it's an impossible task to speak about everything that goes into living a human life. When I look to our tradition to find out what God says about human worth, God has many beautiful statements in our Bible, but perhaps the most elegant and most profound rendering of God's thoughts comes from the prophet Micah, who says to us, what does God ask of each of us but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? Micah says it's very simple, actually. God doesn't ask us to be the CEO of the next multinational corporation. God doesn't ask us to be the life of the party. God certainly doesn't ask us to be perfect parents or perfect people. What God does ask from each of us is to try our best every day in a world that is filled with hatred, intolerance, and unspeakable acts of violence, to try our best to be decent, caring people, people who have a sensitive heart to others who are in need, people who understand that while we get to make the small decisions in our lives, like what to wear and what to have for breakfast tomorrow, we look to God for the answer to the largest question in our lives, which is, what is our role vis-a-vis other human beings while we're here? The problem for God is that he gave us instructions on how to be these caring people. But they're just words on paper until somebody actually reads God's words or hears about them and follows his instructions to make the world a better place for family and friends. So in a very real sense, God desperately needs partners here on earth, people who will follow his instructions. I didn't know Anita, but based on everything that I have learned from all of you, I can say I absolutely would have loved to have met her. I would have loved to have sat down and had a good long conversation with her, because she sounds like a remarkable woman. What I learned about her is that she was a devoted wife, mother, and grandmother. That she had a very, very big heart. She was selfless, and she was strong. I understand she fought for what she believed in. She was an advocate for seniors, elder abuse, Alzheimer's patients. That takes an incredible strength of spirit and commitment. Irv said she was everyone's best friend. What a beautiful compliment to pay someone. She was everyone's best friend. She was very intelligent. She was, as Elliot said, reliable, which might seem, as you said, like sort of what kind of adjective is reliable? But you know what? What do we ask for from a mother? We ask for her to be there when we need her, right? So reliable isn't, it's important. It's really important. So that was a tremendous compliment and a great adjective for her. You could count on her. That's a big deal. She was very loving. She was giving. She was compassionate. Clearly, she was devoted to her family. She was a good listener. I understand also, Irv said she had a great sense of humor. And she had, say that again? She would have to. And she had many awards and citations all over her office walls, because she was so accomplished and she was so good at what she did. She loved to read, and as you all said, she loved to shop. Good. And she volunteered her time for Valley Interfaith Council, Alzheimer's Association, and as well as an elder law attorney. Irv said they took 60 cruises. Wow, I would have loved to have heard about which ones were her favorites, what places. They went to Israel a lot. I think with only a very short examination of Anita's life today, we can say that she was a wonderful partner for God while she was here. She understood God's instructions beautifully, and she lived them every day of her life. Be kind, be caring, take care of your family, love your children, love your husband. She did those beautifully every day of her life. And we honor her today for all of her contributions. Her life was important to many, many, many people. I expect God is welcoming her into the Garden of Eden today, saying thank you. Thank you for setting such a beautiful example of how to be a caring woman in the world. I left you down there as long as I could because you were doing such a wonderful job. But I can also see the last years have become so very difficult for you that it is now time for you to come up to heaven to be here with me so I can personally take care of you for the rest of eternity. At this time, I would like to ask those of you who are able to please rise for our memorial prayer. In your booklets, you'll find El Malei Rachamim. It says Memorial Prayer El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim Shochen Bameromim Hamtze Menucha Nichona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina V'malot Kedoshim Kedoshim Udorim Gizor Harakia Masirim Et Nishmat Chadasa Bat Yisrael Shalcha Leolama Began Eden Deminuchata Lachen Bal Harachamim Yastireha Beseter Kenafav Leolamim V'yitzror Achayim V'yitzror Achayim Et Nishmata Adonai Unachelata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. You may be seated. At this time, in just a moment, beginning with Elliot and Eden, I'm going to ask those of you who wish to come forward to place earth on the casket. At the end of the book of Deuteronomy, Moses ascends Mount Nebo, and we don't hear from Moses again. And our tradition tells us that God himself buries Moses, and from this we are to learn that it is our honor and our obligation to complete the burial ourselves. The rabbis called this act a chesed shel emet, a true act of loving kindness, because it is something for which Anita cannot repay us. And that is, she will be buried today by the people who loved her most and whom she loved most in the world. Traditionally, we place an odd number of shovelfuls, usually 1 or 3, and then we place the shovel back in the earth rather than handing it off to the next person. So at this time, I would like to ask Elliot and Eden to come forward to place earth. At this time, I would like to ask those of you who wish to please come forward to place earth. The grandchildren should probably be next. I'm sorry, this part is so very. Irv and Michelle, I'm so very sorry. I know how difficult this part is, and I'm just very sorry for your loss.
Well, I figured these would be okay, but I forgot grass.
Well, it's okay. At least you had socks. I just happened to Walmart on the way because I forgot to pack dress socks. I was running.
I don't have socks.
Oh yeah, you do. You can pull that out. Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Our final act of love here at the graveside is to recite the mourner's Kaddish. The Kaddish is a very special and powerful prayer in Jewish tradition. Judaism teaches that the souls of our loved ones ascend to God over the course of 1 year. And every time we come together to say Kaddish, it will be as if a little puff of air comes under Anita's soul, pushing her closer and closer to God. We imagine today, as we recite Kaddish for the first time, that we allow her soul to begin the journey upwards to God. So once again, I'll ask you to please rise if you are able. And we say together, Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra chidute v'amlich malchute, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'alam Ulalmei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shmei Dekudsha Berichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba min Shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. O say shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. That concludes our service today. Thank you all for being here to comfort the family at this very difficult time. I leave you with a final prayer. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'tok shavlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May all of you here today who have lost such a special person in your lives in Anita be comforted by the Holy One who bestows all comfort and all blessing. And once again, I will send my condolences to Elliot and Eden and Michelle and especially Irv today. This is such a very difficult day, and I'm so very sorry for your loss. Thank you.
Thank you.